second book, the Measure What Matters, right? So I'm saying this fails. Okay? So this thought process fails because machines break down, right? So machines don't know how to improve things. Okay? So if we have established the goal of machine mechanization is to improve the efficiency, but ironically, a mechanized process cannot improve their efficiency. That's the irony of it, right? The whole goal of that process system is to improve the efficiency. And unfortunately, that very thing can't do that very thing which is the very goal of that particular thing.
Correct.
Right? So, to improve the efficiency, you need somebody to come and say, throw away this whole drawing board. You're wrong. Right? This is how you should make a cupcake. This is how you should hire a person. This is how you should create this robot arm should move from. Maybe you don't even need the robot arm. Maybe why don't you just solve this earlier? This guy is actually needing a robot arm to pick this item from one conveyor belt to another. And why is this happening? Maybe if earlier on when you're putting the two items on the conveyor belt simultaneously, at that time only can't you just shake the conveyor belt a little bit so that this guy just falls off? Why do you need a robotic arm to pick up? So these questions, you need these people who will come and look at your process and say, fuck you, you're wrong, right? You have been doing this, the industry, the machine has been running since 40 years, I don't give a shit. I want to say, okay, this is wrong. Innovation is basically somebody coming and saying, fuck you, right? So this is what I mean by human. So in a mechanized process, you have to follow the mechanized process. And then, when you have this mechanized process, it has that limit. It just can't do the basic thing it had to do. So you need to throw away that process for a moment to become a human. And humans come and they look at, so humans are all about creativity, right? It's about just so consider, for example, if I give you a problem here, I need you to write a software which will be better than Google search for some reason, right? Now, consider that problem statement with I saying here, I have this big government contract project and I want you to implement this. Now look at these two problem statements, right? So in one case, I am saying build something new for me. In another case, I am saying I know exactly what is to be built, just build it. So let's say if you're working for me and if I had these two problem statements, I would probably, and let's say hypothetically, you are the only one who's going to work on both of them. I have decided that 1 week you'll work on this, other week you're going to work on that. Now I can't deal with you for both problem statements in the same way. Okay? So this is where I am talking about. So when you are a machine, so if you're looking at the government contract project where no innovation is happening, it's purely implementation detail. And when you're working on that project, I want you to come at 8 o'clock sharp in the morning. Because I am not expecting you to be doing anything interesting new. I just know this much code has to be written. I have a process. I have this process mechanized, is what I'm trying to say. So I can virtually find anybody who knows how to use computer or knows a little bit of if then else and compiling code and basic of whatever, right? I can just find anybody and who can solve that problem. And there the problem here is that you will not be enough. I have to probably hire 20 people or maybe 80 people to get that government deadline met, right?
Yes.
So at that point I don't have any scope of you coming and saying isko aise karte, right? If you come and tell me okay, we'll do this innovation, I'll say fuck you, right? Just don't use your brain. Become a machine. I have already figured out. I have created the whole plan. I just need to hire 80 people. I know how much code can people be producing in 1 week or 1 day. I've done it 5 years, 10 years. Infosys has been doing this since 20 years, right? So they are very good at this. They constantly, why do they keep on getting rewarded government projects? You and me, can we go to Indian government and say, we'll build a software for you? No. Who is building BSc software? Who is building this Aadhaar card software? We are not. Infosys are doing it, right? Why are they doing it? Because they give something to government which matters. You and me can't give that, which is a reliability ki 1 saal mein wo definitely deliver ho jayega. Imagine a government says ki Aadhaar card aane wala hai, election promise kar diya. Now if they can't do it because Infosys ne project delay kar diya, government will screw that person, right? I'll never deal with that person, company again, right? So you need reliability. You need, in fact, the definition of quality in mechanical engineering, for example, and probably all engineering is not about it is better. A lot of people actually conflate quality as better, right? Quality is not better. Quality is consistency. It's very weird. ISO, whatever the standard 9001 or whatever standard is about, think for example, if it says the cup has this radius of whatever 12 centimeters, so it must always be exactly 12 centimeters. It doesn't matter whether the cup looks good or bad. The cup which is more consistent as per the quality standard, if you get any of the Six Sigma quality, whatever those people, quality assurance team, right? If you bring that team and ask them, okay, you judge the quality of these two cups. One was designed by this artist, and that is designed by this stupid person, doesn't know anything. But that guy is constantly producing cups exactly at 12 centimeters. And whereas this guy, every time he produces, he comes up with a new cup. And like, what the fuck? Like, last time he showed me a different cup. I wrote my marketing pamphlet about why this cup is good. And then suddenly the artist will say, fuck you, I don't like that design anymore. I am a creative person, I'll create a new cup. I'm bored of that cup. I'm saying this is what happens, right? Humans are actually bored about things like that. They just can't do repetition stuff. Humans machines are different at this fundamental level. Machines can only do repetition stuff, and humans can almost never do repetition stuff. Right? That's the key point where we go in different directions. So
Game of Thrones is old news now.
Exactly. No matter how good you make something, the moment you have to see the same thing, even like I have not read the book, let's say, I know what the book is roughly going to be about. I get bored of that. Right? I need to see a new style of book, right? A new style of writing. Show me a different universe, show me comedy. I might get bored of comedy. Think about that.
Yeah.
I actually, on a routine basis, get bored of comedy. I want to see no drama, and I get bored of drama. I want to see some action stuff, and then I want to see some. So there's nothing which can satisfy us, like, right? We can just keep on doing again and again and again. That's the fundamental problem or state of humanity, right? We just bored and died.
Creativity approximately equals to new something.
Exactly. Creativity is exactly new creation, right? It's
exactly.
The whole word is.
Yeah.
So my point is to solve the machine's problem, you have to bring human beings. If on the other hand, so if I'm running that shop, coming back to the example that I was trying to give, if I'm running that shop which is building this software for government, I will be doing exactly what TCS, you imagine TCS is doing. It is treating all people as resources. Right? We really dislike that terminology, right? Like, how can you call us resources, human resources? They're fungible, everybody. Like, government contract can't be affected, right? If one of my star performer decides to leave the company, I can't go back to Mr. Modi and say, shit, Saurabh left, I can't really deliver it on time. He'll get me in jail, right? Yeah. So my point is that there's no such thing as star. In Infosys, you can't be star. If you become a star, if you are at risk of becoming a star, I'll fire you. If you're a very great developer, I'll probably fire you. That's very counterintuitive. In fact, they're very aware. It's not like that they don't know that all the good guys don't join them. It's not like a surprising thing for them. Infosys clearly knows that fact. Yeah. They are sorry, Infosys guys, if you're working.
Probably in like college placements maybe. If they know कि ये अच्छा बंदा है, तो they would hire him.
Exactly. They know that becomes a liability for that person, right? So, on the other hand, if I am telling you, okay, I'm just really screwed, Google is really ahead, and for some reason we have to make a better Google search, right? I know that it's not a given, it can be done, right? These are the crucial. So, we were talking about crucial elements that decides, right? So, one of them is boredom and repetition, right? But there are other stuff. When you're human, it's not a given you can do what you do. Right? A car manufacturing process will, as long as there's no breakdown, as long as you have the raw material, energy and whatever, as long as you press the button, something will come out. Like there's no chance there, right? There's no risk there. The only risk is that maybe there's some breakdown happens or something like that, untoward happens. Right? In the right happy case, if you press the button, a car will come out of that process. There's no ifs and buts, right? So consider the coffee machine, right? Every time you press the button, a coffee comes out, right? So this is like a machine, right? So that's the characteristic of the machine. So whenever you have a problem, when you know exactly what is to be done, there is no ifs and buts. Government project, there is no innovation or research problem that we are solving, right? We know exactly this. We have done it hundreds and thousands of times. And if you press the button, and everybody is. On the other hand, on human problems, the machine, when you need humans, you have never, if you're talking about human problems, none of the human problems, actually to me, this is a defining characteristic, right? In biology, characteristic is a word which is used to identify a species, right? If you look at the identification books, bird watching, if you go and read any bird watching related book, you use the word characteristics, right? So these are characteristics of that bird, right? These characteristic features, if you identify the characteristic features, then you can identify the bird. Identifying a species of bird is very hard. Just looking at it, they are not looking at the whole thing. They are looking at some characteristic feature, and that is the identifying feature. So I'm saying I'm using the word characteristic. Characteristics of this human problems are this: that you do not know if the problem is given to a human, whether the human can solve it. Then you can say this is a human problem, right? So humans will fail. Humans will fail most of the time. In fact, virtually all human 80, 90 plus things would just fail, right? So, and yet, it doesn't matter because you do just 5 times effort, right? If process fails 80% of the time, you just do the process 5 times and you get done, right? Virtually you get the same output. So it's not like just because it fails, it's bad. So just because it fails in certain way, it's like if you coin toss, right? So if you get 1 out of 6, you wanted 6 on a dice, and you wanted 5, 6. Let's say your job would be done when you have rolled 6, 5 times. So it's not like a SAG thing. It only comes once in 6 times or whatever. You can just keep on doing a number of times, and eventually you get it, right? So you'll have to do that process a little bit more and whatever. So you can get the result, even though the result is not conclusive. By keep on doing it, you increase the chances of getting the result. So that's the difference. Right? In machine, you're not retrying it. Okay, let me try it again, let me put it with another person. You're not retrying that. That's not machine, that's just madman, right? Whereas on human side, if I give the problem to you, make a search engine better than Google, maybe you can't do it. Maybe you can do it next time. Maybe another person can do it. We keep on trying. And it's not like you'll never get it. Probably we'll solve all human problems, right? It's not a given, but the more investment we make on the human side, the higher the chance are that the problem will get solved, right? We have certain level of control. Obviously, unless you have picked a very hard problem, even a very hard problem, it just becomes a matter of scale. Maybe you can't solve today. Maybe I can't make a Google better than Google search in 1 year, but maybe in 100 years. Who is there to say that in 100 years I can't make a better than Google search, right? So it's just a matter of all of that. And again, this is about a judgment. So this is where the judgment comes up. Like, I don't know. Can I really make a better search engine? Is it worth investing in it? Can I create a company out of it? Because, So first characteristic was there's no repeatable process. There's this thing. And then you have to understand humans work in a very weird way. Right? That's the third, the other thing, that humans are like any creative process. Right? How creative, like artists are like all probably drug addicts and whatever, like alcoholic or whatever. They're all the stereotypes, right? So many artists are committing suicide and whatever. And you can even say that depression or that addiction is actually the reason that they got that art created, right? I don't know why did that guy he pulled his ear, cut his ear off, but he created such paintings that people love it. So whether
probably bored of the monotonicity, whatever.
Yeah. Maybe that the very weakness of being bored is our strength and whatever. So bottom line is so humans are flawed, and then so the point of the book is that first you identify which problem is which category, right? So the Humans Are Machine 2 is about first identifying that which problems are which category, and then realizing there are different games, rules of the games for the different category. So in this case, if you are working in government, I will put a hunter and say, come at 8 o'clock or I'll fire you, right? The Office, you see so many movies about that, right? They don't understand my individualism, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying you're just misplaced. You're not realizing that you're not supposed to be human in this place. You're trying to be a human in assembly line, you'll get killed, right? You just follow exactly the same thing, otherwise the machines are moving fast around you. If you don't exactly get out of the way when the machine will just about to go away, who are all trained when people, so if you're not doing exactly what you're supposed to do in an actual industry, you might get killed in a day or two, right? So I'm just saying you're very lucky that you're only getting fired in a company if you're not following the rule. In other cases, you might even get killed, you might lose your limbs if you don't follow the rules. So that's just the game, right? In that particular, when you're in that game, you follow the rules. So rules of the game for machine is whatever. You have to follow rigidly the rules. The rules of the game for human is totally different. Humans are to be coddled. They will have emotions, and they will be like millennials who have all sorts of. They can't come on time. They are like they'll ask a lot of questions, and they'll be like bored. They'll want to party. They'll talk about work-life balance. They'll talk about diversity. They'll talk about all sorts of stuff. This is just human. So the moment you realize that you are dealing with humans now and no longer machine, I'm saying all those things become important. Right? Because otherwise it's like there's no formula to creativity. Like nobody can pretend. To me at high level the formula is like the Medici formula, right? The Medici when he had this garden, Medici, right? Florence Medici, Machiavelli worked for him, and Michelangelo worked for him, and even Mr. Leonardo da Vinci kind of not worked with him directly, but were really in the influence of him. So Medici created that garden, right? And in that garden, he had these sculptors, painters, he had all these artists, and he created that space, right? So where creative people can just come and do what they want to, right? If you think about Google, 20% is just Medici. Google people decided they are trying to coddle the Medicis, the Michelangelos of today's world. They are trying to create a space where people can come and just do whatever they want to do. Like you just can't tell them what to do, right? Like
build a new product, destroy it. Build a new product, destroy it.
Exactly. Do whatever you just strikes your fancy, because there is no formula.
Yeah.
The only formula is somehow retain them, right? Somehow create a space where they would want to hang out. So as nobody knows, and bottom line is the ratio is so odd, because once you form the formula, I mean to say, once an output comes from this process where you have this creative people working together, and when they come up with some output, right? That output, that particular Mona Lisa painting is forever, right? That particular process, let's say Leonardo da Vinci came up with that design for certain aqueduct or whatever, is forever. Now we have all been living into a process, a system that Leonardo da Vinci helped decide at some point, right? So even if it takes you 100 years for a person like Leonardo da Vinci to just come up with one thing, it is profitable for you, right? So that's the whole thing. So you have to create that environment, and you can't just let anybody come in, right? So if you let anybody come in that garden, if Medici allowed anybody to come in his garden, the Michelangelos will leave.
Yeah.
So you have to create a space which is merit based or whatever, right? Not just merit based. It's like whatever you call it. I don't know what it is, right? The bottom line is a very hard thing to create that space where all of these people would want to stay there, right? So it has to have freedom of speech. It has to have all of those stuff. Like it's perfectly fine. Do you think Medici would have minded if the people, sculpturer who was creating these sculptures would have created, like, do you think Medici was a good fellow? Not at all. If you have seen the show, you'll realize that he did so much bad. He had money, made money by exploiting the population more or less at very high level, right? He just figured out he can exploit the population, make money, and use the money to help the population. So population will eventually never cross the threshold of revolt. So in fact, that is, if you look at Machiavelli, that
Google.
is it.
Same Google.
Exactly. So Machiavelli wrote exactly that, right? So you have to be cruel to rule a population. Machiavelli was an advisor for Medici, right? So he wrote The Prince, and I think Medici was one of the prince or one of his kids or one of those people around that time. All of those people were flawed. They were not like gods. They are just flawless and they're just doing good for the society. So what I'm trying to say is that when Medici was encouraging people to enter his garden, do you think Medici would have minded if those very people that he is giving money to criticize Medici himself? What do you think Medici did, or his approach must have been when Michelangelo created a painting whose premise was that Medici is bad for Florence? Do you think at that point Medici would have just temper tantrum and just thrown him out of this thing? That is the whole point, right? If he does that, not only would he'll leave Michelangelo, he'll leave all those other people. And on the other hand, if he allows Michelangelo to make that painting, and if people see that this guy is still paying Michelangelo, who is criticizing this guy, imagine what the effect would be. He'll suddenly get 10 more people. So if you punish your criticizers, you actually are, anybody who is neutral becomes your criticizer. Whereas if you reward your criticizers, anybody who is even against you suddenly becomes your fan. That's a bit level Machiavelli thinking, right? So when you just said Google, you're right. So none of these things is like, and that's the whole point, by the way. So if you understand these aspects, what I'm trying to say is, when I say machines are people too, is the opposite, that the people are machine too. It's something like that. Like machines are people too as well, but machine. So I'm saying this process that I just described, while the individual element can't be replicated, Medici can come and tell you exactly what to do to create another garden. Google has done it. This entire thing, this is a meta thing. So I said human and human machine. What I'm saying, while we don't know exactly what is going on in that human room, human rooms can be created via a mechanical process at a much higher level. Any country can choose to decide, okay, this is what we want. We want humans in my country. And for that, what I need is to create this space. And these are the rules of the space, right? The whole thing that I was talking about machine, I'm saying you can mechanize the human thing, right? So anyway, so that's the point of my book, right? That this is kind of my book. If you realize these things, then a lot of suffering to me, as per that book that I'm trying to say, is when you don't know who you are. Whether in this space, are you supposed to act like, so when I give you a task, let's say ideally in pull request or when I assign a task to you in Asana, there should be an icon there, right? And that icon should be either a human face or a robot face. I should tell you, okay, dude, I'm assigning a task to you and I'm asking, it's a robotic task. And when I give you a robotic task, when you're performing a robotic task, you should aware, okay, it's a robotic task, but at least, see, let's talk about another problem. Like when I talk about, so when you're a robot, right, you should be able to, like, that's what I keep on telling people, my superpower, if I have any, is that I can become robot. I keep on telling that you tell me the rules, I'll follow the rules. Like, I keep on telling you tell me the software, okay, these are the rules, and I'm completely happy to take instructions from my watchman or whoever, right? You give me an instruction, I don't feel any shame or this thing saying I will do what this guy is telling me to do. And people believe, like, laugh at, like, they don't really believe me or whatever. I'm saying obviously I'll sit and debug the program first. I have to ensure that this program has merits and I'll run it on a trial basis. But I'm completely open for the watchman to send me a pull request, is effectively what I'm saying, to improve my life in some fashion and so on. And once it is there, once that thing is done, once that code has been committed, so to say, right? Till onwards, you will not find me deviating from that. That is like, I work on that like a machine. And I believe even when I'm working on human problems, so I told you about one level of human problem, mechanization of human stuff. I'm saying there are other levels, right? So for example, the creative process itself, if you look at the color of the button, right? You know how to, if you look at the design, there's so much of design that we consider, typically we consider what is called human domain stuff, can be actually mechanized. If you really realize, so it's not just you as a role, right? You are either acting as a machine or human. Within the day-to-day job, you can break the job itself into this portion of my job is human job and this portion of my job is machine job. So this is what this book is about, right? So once you know these things, you're always aware on your side. For example, if I give you a task, your first answer should be mechanically tell me, can the task be done exactly in the word and what is the shortest? That is my expectation for every person who works with me. Can you just do it, like spelling by spelling mistake wise? If I ask you to do X, you just do it. Like that's a machine thing, right? If you give some software to a machine is not using their brain to decide should it be done, like blah blah blah. What is expected from the machine is if I give them a car which is not 4 wheels but 20 wheels, like machine is not asking me that question hypothetically, let's say. It's just machine is saying, okay, I am a machine. I would be given within parameters, obviously given a task. within the set of parameters. It can't be just give a car and say make a submarine or a rocket, right? So I'm saying within that parameters, let's say hypothetically the number of wheels was a configurable parameter for the machine. If it was expected, if it is possible for the machine, then I'm saying from possible doing it, there should be zero resistance. That is what I said, the turning on the penny or whatever, right? If you thought something and I'm telling you something else, I don't want discussion. This is the military thinking, right? If you are telling a commander here, you do this, and the high command has given this instruction, you're not expecting resistance. You only expecting, sir, ye nahi ho sakta because I need, on that side there's the river, I need to cross the river, ask me to cross the river, I don't have a boat. How do I cross the river? You tell me, that's the only time you are expecting a reply or a question from that guy. Otherwise, if it is possible for you to cross the river and you don't understand why the fuck is my manager or what command change asking me to cross the river, you don't ask those questions. You just, yes sir, I am crossing the road, I am already crossed the road. You tell me what next to do. So I'm saying that's the mechanical thinking, this thing. So I take huge pride. I'm almost like a military person, I believe. Like I wanted to live the military life. Yes sir, yes sir, sir, yes sir. Like you just given a command and you just perform the command in the fastest way fashion. And then at the same time, simultaneously, if you're good, right? So this is like a surgeon, for example, make it an art, right? An operation that can't be performed by anybody, but this person can do it, right? At some level, every single thing becomes an art, right? At certain sophistication level. So you see, if you become better at this, what I'm describing, at some point, you will do that, and then you'll also look at, simultaneously at a human level, what is going on, right? Asking yourself what is going on. Being able to strike a balance between the two is what I'm trying to say is hard. If you just prematurely decide to play a human role in a military command, you will fail. I'm saying everything is a military command. The whole society is a military command. We don't realize that. And we therefore have such simple problems. Polio vaccination took 100 years for the whole, like, come on, this was a good idea. They should have been, when we had the vaccination, we never had shortage of money. We are just, like last month we declared Africa polio free. Think about that. India declared ourselves polio free probably 10 years, 20 years back. Why the hell, for the last 20 years, kids in Africa were still getting polio when it was completely curable? We had all the money. There was never a shortage of money. Bill Gates and other people we had enough money, enough and more money. Never a shortage of question. There was never there's no reason kids in Africa were suffering with polio for last 20 years, other than the fact that humans have stupidly decided they have to be humans in this situation. When they realized that the job is not dissemination of polio vaccine into the whole this thing, why did it take more than a day? Were we not able to do that? If something is there to be created, can we not do that? We can trivially and easily do that. It's not even restricting your freedom or whatever the government the charges you go there, you collect this, you figure that out. You put your own money, you're probably very happy to do that. It's not even like you have to demand government कि यार मेरे को जो 500 लोगों के बच्चों के पोलियो के वैक्सीनेशन देने हैं, asking you to supply it. You will not necessarily even ask to give me the money for that. You'll say कि हाँ, I have enough money. I'll actually, because the polio vaccination is really, really cheap. So you could just easily have bought it, or you could have figured out your friends and other people and collected your money, and you would have done it. The failure is that we can't operate as a machine. If tomorrow aliens come and attack us, we will not die because we are weak or whatever, right? We lack technology. We will die because we can't mobilize, right? So we can't become like a machine. So all sorts of suffering, all sorts of problems in the world is because we can't become machines. When asked on the drop of a hat, you should be able to become a machine, right? There should be a button. You switch on the button and you become a yes sir robot. Stand up and just start walking like a robot, right? So similarly, when people have problems, right? So for example, consider pharma companies, consider so many companies which are old, who are dying. They, on the other hand, has an exact opposite problem, right? They're just trying to put everything through machine, right? So bureaucracy is, for example, a mechanical process, right? So at some level, you want humans to perform in a way, you need to create structure and software around it. And I'm saying bureaucracy is a mechanical process. Diplomacy, you create a protocol, you try to do these stuff. These are hard level stuff, but they are very well understood. You can go to a bureaucrat school and you can understand to become a bureaucrat. You can go to a diplomat school and you can be a diplomat. IAS officers, IFS officers are taught this. So it's not a whatever, right? So in a purely human place, you can make a this thing. But on the other hand, so many places, right? Companies after companies fail, right? Consider where is IBM? Become a nothing, right? So nobody thinks of IBM as a companies like Google are coming up. So they are suffering with the other problem, right? So this is the second book that I was talking, Measure What Matters, talks about. If you realize that this is the scenario, how to not be a machine company, how to, if you want to run a human company, Measure What Matters is actually the book that you should follow. So
even art has a creative process.
Yeah, exactly. Art has a great way. If you go to an art teacher, he'll not be telling you completely, just get drunk and just do whatever. He'll tell you just sketch it again and you use that style. You do that in using 10 styles. You'll eventually figure out your own style. But the art teacher will tell you to do something in all
Every
styles.
art form has been destructured into some scientific process.
Exactly.
करना.
This means that you can't just. So after you learn the process, you would be expected to find your own thing. Nobody's forcing you, but you can't do it on your first year exam. You still have to sample the whole thing. You still have to be able to identify characteristics of each style of painting, right? So you have to study all of them. There's a process, and so that's exactly what I'm saying. So if you realize there are processes which makes you run humans better. So that's what I was saying. If we come back to the original question, the two kinds of people, right? So I said in manufacturing, if I tell you have to use a new screwdriver to build a car, that is where we started, right? There are these people. So I'm saying there are these people who are good, or rather whatever. I don't believe that people should be limited to a role. But some people are coming from everything should be machine, and some people are coming from everything should be human. Humans has this bravado, they think they can do anything, whatever, right? They're just not non-conformist, they don't believe in any of those stuff. So these people are coming, and you can argue that both of them are needed. And I'm not at all here talking about one is better than other. Discussion started from that area, right? We were talking about some people and the style of some people and some other people. And I'm not at all pretending one is better than the other. Both of them are needed. The fuck up is oftentimes you just don't know who you are. So if I be myself in a place where I should be the other person, then I will be bad. Similarly, the other person. So I'm saying for solving problems or creating things better, making better. In fact, the Google formula probably may be the best formula. Like they said 20% should be human and 80% of what it should be machine. It's probably what you should do. It depends on the maturity of the industry. If the startup is new, you probably operate at 80% human level, 20% machine level. When you have 1,000 customers and they are all, their policy PDF is not getting issued on time, then you have to realize you no longer can be human and you have to become a machine, because as soon as the customer is expecting a PDF, you must be able to print the PDF as in the software experience and you have to perform some human operation. So it depends on the maturity of the company. It's hard, it is a judgment thing ultimately, figuring out what is good for you. Maybe you should double down on becoming more mechanical, maybe you should double down on becoming more. So I'm thinking these things are hard, but both of them are valid and only when you use the right thing at the right time you have to do it.